Fox News Digital went out and asked a bunch of voters, hey, do you think that maybe if you're running for president, you should have to debate? And voters felt very strongly in the affirmative that that should be a requirement. Take a listen to a little bit of that.
I think 100%. If you don't know how someone's going to speak in a public setting in front of millions of people on TV and with other people asking them questions, then how do you know how they're going to react when they're answering questions for millions of people and they're trying to talk to, the whole United States of America?
Of course, I always think so. I think you get more of their point of views on things.
If you can't stand up for what you believe in and have a debate with somebody, you're out.
We need to be able to hear what people have to say before they can just run to be in charge of the most powerful country in the world, So we have a lot of influence, and we need someone who people can hear and be confident about.
100%. You should be able to defend any and every policy that you have or any question about an existing policy in any kind of a public debate where you can be asked questions that are not, you're not getting softball pitches that are questions that you've been told ahead of time. You need to be able to clearly and accurately have a discussion about policies that are affecting the entire country that you are going to be the leader of if you're elected.
Obviously, voters are like, of course you should debate. And I have to say, Saagar, if you call yourself a journalist and you are enraged and demanding out there just on the agenda of the people, demanding that Trump and Biden subject themselves to public debates, neither one of whom is a spring chicken, by the way, so it ties in very closely with the Mitch McConnell discussion that we just had. I don't know how you call yourself a journalist if you just accept as like appropriate political strategy that, of course, they wouldn't debate.
Yeah, I mean, it's actually probably the biggest disconnect between just being a normal person or people who interact with normal people and then the actual political class where, like, of course not, we're not going to debate. Everyone knows and wants and needs that moment that for politicians, I mean, I think it's actually ingrained, luckily, in our historical lore. I mean, one of the most important things that ever happened in modern American history were the Lincoln-Douglas debates. Like when we think about these long, drawn-out questions that thousands of people would come to, such that the idea Lincoln-Douglas even became its own event. I know some high schoolers who are watching this probably I participated in a bit. And it's a great format. And when you think back to how important those debates were, they were actually printed in pamphlets and they were distributed across the country. And millions of people at that time, imagine you're a farmer, you don't have a lot of access to technology, entertainment, TikTok, and all this other stuff. And this comes in the mail, it's several months later, and you're reading this like, hey, these are some great arguments around slavery and about the most important debates that are within the country. Luckily, that's kind of carried over, I think, even to the most basic level if you go through somewhat of a civics education. And then you look at the current state and you're like, wait, this is all I got? I mean, we had first of all, we missed out on a debate last time because Trump got COVID. And then even on this one, I've always loved the primary debates. I believe that Obama debated some 19 times before he got the Democratic nominee, which is incredible, actually. I mean, it put him in fighting, he's even said this, put me in fighting shape for when I had to go up against McCain. Everyone remembers his disastrous first debate against Mitt Romney. And the reason why is because he was an arrogant prick who'd been president for 4 years. And it's like, turns out, when you're in the bubble, it's like when you're in the bubble, you have no idea what how you really come off. And then in the second debate, you could see he was much more approachable. He took the time to like sit there and engage with, in terms of the audience member, even though Candy Crowley put her finger on the scale for him. Still haven't forgot about that one. I see.
Please proceed, Governor.
Crazy moment there. That still haven't forgotten. I can't believe it's been more than a decade.
I know, it is wild. I was thinking about too.
Yeah.
It can seem like, it's just sort of like entertainment, these debates,
Yeah,
and I mean, we do enjoy them in a sense, like entertainment because we're weirdos and dorks. But it also does actually matter to get these people on the record. I mean, what did we show you earlier? Biden, when he was on the campaign trail getting pressed, having to be put on the record specifically about Hunter Biden. Lo and behold, that turns out to matter now. Biden also, I mean, the whole reason that he was pushed into having to say anything about student debt cancellation was because he was on a primary stage versus other opponents. It matters to get people on the record. Nancy Pelosi getting that question about the stock trading ban and really revealing how she actually thinks about things, which is like, it's just free market. People should be able to participate. It matters getting people on the record. And, as we have these super old men who are running for president and probably going to be the Republican and Democratic nominee, it also really matters to be able to see in some sort of a test of whether they are up to the rigors of the office as a piece of information to evaluate with all of the other pieces of information that exist. These things really do matter. So it is absolutely atrocious and such a sign of just utter decline in the country that is very likely the two top contenders do not debate in their primaries, don't feel that they have to go out there and actually prove themselves to the American people. It is such an incredibly sad state of affairs.
I would also disagree with the idea that debates are just for nerds. I mean, some of the, the 17th primary debate, yeah. But, I just looked at this up. 84 million people watched Trump and Hillary debate.
Yeah.
The first, and that's
a major cultural event.
People.
It's like Barbie right there.
Yeah, I mean, that's wild. That is half the U.S. adult population, And you think also about the first 2016 campaign debate that Trump participated in. I mean, I'll never forget. Only Rosie O'Donnell. I literally will never forget that moment. I think politics changed the day that he took that stage.
Wild.
I am thinking also there are a lot of debate moments, that still resonate
Newt
throughout
Gingrich
history.
had some big ones.
Went after he said that, actually that presaged Trump in a lot of ways when he attacked John King in the media. I remember that one as well. These moments, we just talked about Candy Crowley, all of these different things that we can think about. Regular Americans do pay attention. Of the top 20 most viewed live events in 2022, only one of them was political, 19 others were sports, but it was the State of the Union. And by the way, that State of the Union was boring as hell, but 42 million people watched it. So I think we should put more faith in people that if you do give them a reason, they will show up. Americans are interested. They're not all like, we have this thing about how like, oh, everyone's checked out. And some of that is true to a certain extent. But when you give people the opportunity, they do show up to watch. They at least tune in for a little bit to try and figure out what's going on. So anyway, I think people should get that opportunity. I think it's important for the republic, as people often say.
Hey guys, if you like that video, go to breakingpoints.com, become a premium subscriber, and help us build the best independent media organization on the planet.
That's right. We're subscriber funded. We're building something new. We want to replace these failing mainstream media organizations.
So again, to subscribe, it's breakingpoints.com.